So this stitch is done in multiples of 5 plus 3. I went ahead and I did my chain in 23, which is 4 multiples of 5 plus 3. We'll pull up our loops as we normally do in Tunisian crochet in the back loop. You'll go from the second chain from your hook. That's chain 1, there's chain 2. Pop it over and you're going to pull up your loops in the back bumps of each chain. I am using 4-weight yarn or iron with a 6.5mm cable Tunisian crochet hook. And you'll do that all the way down and count your loops to make sure you still are correct with your chain count. I'm going to go ahead and pull these up and I'll see you in just a second. So I have all my loops on my hook and we're going to do a standard return pass. To do a standard return pass with that last loop, you're going to chain 1 and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. You're going to yarn over and pull through 2 all the way down to the end till you only have that 1 loop left on your hook. And I'll see you when we get there. I'm pulling through the last loop right now. And that's what our foundation row should look like. Now what we're going to do is one complete row of Tunisian simple stitch. If you do not know how to do the Tunisian simple stitch, I'll be putting a link for it right here for you. But to do a simple stitch, you'll take your needle and you'll go behind that front bar, yarn over, and pull up your loop. That is it. You're going to do that all the way down and do the standard end stitch, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. Alright, so I'm going through the last few loops right now, and we're about to do our end stitch. Now there's a few ways you can do your end stitch. You can just do it, finagle your way, but if you have issues finding it, back your needle out just a little bit. Keeping your loops on your hook though, but take your hook, just back a little bit, fold down to the row we just closed. Fold your work, the end, onto your needle, and it'll go where it needs to go 99% of the time. Then you'll yarn over and pull up your loop, and it's a standard return pass. Standard return pass again is a yarn over, chain 1, a yarn over, and pull through 2. You're going to yarn over and pull through 2, repeating that step all the way down to the end until you only have that 1 loop left on your hook. Alright, so I'm pulling through the last loop now. So we have our simple stitch row up. So now we're going to start row 2, because that was row 1 of the repeat. Now we're starting row 2 of the repeat. You're going to start with a purl. If you do not know how to do a purl, I'll put a link for it here, but the purl is you take your yarn and put it in front of your needle, go into the loop, drop your yarn to where it wraps around that loop, then you'll yarn over and pull it through. And that's what it'll look like. Now the next step. We're going to do this 4 times. So you're going to go into that first loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go back into that first loop. Now we're going to go into that second loop. Yarn over and pull that loop up. Now we're going to go back into those 2 loops, 1 and 2, and go into a third loop. Then you're going to yarn over and pull up that loop. So you have 3 now. We're going to do it 1 more time. You're going to go back into those 3 loops, 1, 2, 3, and go into a 4th loop. Yarn over and pull that loop through all those 4. Now you have 4 on your hook. Then we do a purl. Then we're going to do the exact same thing we just did with these 4. We're going to go into 1 loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. Go back into that first loop we just went through, and into a second, yarn over, pull up a loop. Again, we're going to go back into those 2, and then go into a third, yarn over, and pull up the third loop into that series. Now we're going to go back in those 3 and go into a 4th, yarn over, and pull up that loop through all 4. So you'll have 4 loops coming out of this cluster. Then we do a purl, and then we do our 4 again. So go into the first loop, pull up your loop. Go into the first bar, into the second bar, yarn over, and pull up your loop. Now we're going to go into the first bar, second bar, and into a third bar, yarn over, and pull up that loop. And then we're going to do it one more time. Go back in, so you go through all 3 of those, and into a 4th. You'll yarn over and pull that 4th loop all the way through all 4 of those. So you have this cluster, and then a purl, and then we're going to pull up our loop into 1. Then we're going to go back in, go into 2, yarn over and pull it up through 2. We're going to go back in through these 2 and into a 3rd, yarn over and pull it through all 3. Then we're going to go back through these 3 and go into a 4th. So 1, 2, that's number 4. Yarn over and pull that 4th one all the way through all 3. And we have it. And then the very last stitch will be a purl. And then we'll do our end stitch. And again, if you have issues finding your end stitch, just drop your needle down to the row you completed and fold your work onto your needle, and you're going to go right where you need to go. Bingo. Yarn over and pull up your loop. And that's what your row should look like. And then it's a standard return pass. It's going to be kind of hard, tricky. So yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So watch out for that. Make sure you're only getting the loops you really need. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way down to the end till you only have that 1 loop left on your hook. But watching out for your clusters to make sure you're still getting the yarn over, pull through 2s through them. Alright, so we have our last loop up, and now we're starting row 3 of the repeat. So you'll yarn over and do a purl in the purl. And then where we did our clusters, you're just going to pull up your individual simple stitches. And you're going to do that all the way down. So where there was a purl, there's a purl, and with our clusters, we're doing the individual simple stitch. So there's a purl, and we have our simple stitches. And that's what we're going to be working on, and that's what it should look like. A purl where the purl was, and then a simple stitch where we pulled up our clusters in each individual one. And then again, a purl where the purl, and then simple stitches in our individual cluster stitches. purl where the purl is, and then our end stitch. And that's what it should look like. And then from here, it's just a standard return pass. So chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, repeating that step until you only have that one loop left on your hook. This is row 1 of the 3-row repeat again. First stitch, we're going to do purl where purls are. So you'll do the purls wherever you always did a purl. But the rest, we're just going to do simple stitches across. Go ahead and do another row of simple stitches, but pay attention to where you have your purls, because you need to do your purls where your purls are. So that's 4 simple stitches and a purl. Four simple stitches and a purl. And you'll do that all the way down and do a standard return pass. So now we're on to row 2 of the 3-row repeat. Start with the purl. And then we'll pull up one loop. Then we're going back into that one and go to the second. Yarn over and pull up that loop. So now we have 2. We're going to go back into those 2. Pull up and go into a third. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So now we're up to 3, and we got to do it one more time. So we'll yarn over. So we'll just pull back, go into those 3, and go into a 4th, yarn over, and pull up that 4th. And then we do a purl. And then we'll do the exact same thing again. Go into 1, pull up a loop, go back through that 1, go into 2, yarn over and pull up that loop, go back into that 2, so we have 2 there, and we're going to go into a third. We yarn over and pull up that loop all the way through, and then we're going to go back into those 3 and go to a 4th, yarn over and pull up that loop. Now we do a purl. And then we're going to go back into that. Then we're going to go into 1, pull up a loop, go back into that 1, and then go into 2, yarn over and pull up a loop, go back into those 2, and go into a third, yarn over, pull up a loop, and go back into those 3, go into a 4th, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you have the 4, and then we do a purl. And then we go into loop 1 again, go back into 1 and go into the second loop, yarn over and pull that one up. Then we're going to go back into those 2 and go into a third. We'll yarn over and pull that one through. And then we're going to go back into the 3 and into a 4th, and we'll yarn over and pull that 4th all the way through. So we have the 4 on our hook, and then we do a purl. And then we do our end stitch. And it's a standard return pass. So you chain 1, and then we'll yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, being careful with your clusters. And you'll yarn over, pull through 2, repeating that sequence until you only have 1 loop left on your hook, and we will start the next row of the repeat. Alright, so now we're on to row 3 of the repeat. Where there's a purl, you're going to do a purl. And with our clusters, we're going to do simple stitches, so that's 4 simple stitches, and then a purl, 4 simple stitches, and a purl. So we'll do a purl, And then pull up a simple stitch in each one of those clusters that we pulled up. And then a purl. 4 simple stitches. And then a purl. 4 simple stitches. And then a purl. And then our end stitch and a standard return pass. And then we just do a standard return pass, which is chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, repeating that sequence all the way down to the end. And now that we've finished up our row 3 of the 3-row repeat, you just start row 1 again, which is a purl where the purls are, simple stitch where the simple stitches are, and then you'll do row 2 and row 3 and just keep repeating. I'm going to go ahead and go off camera and complete a few more rows off camera, and I will see you here in just a moment. So to close the stitch off, we're going to do it right after row 2 of our 3-row repeat. You'll do a purl close off, which is just pull up a purl and slip it off. And then where our clusters are, we're going to continue doing our simple stitch, but we're going to do a simple stitch close off. And you'll do that all the way down. Pay attention to your purl close offs and your simple stitch close offs. Do your end stitch and your stitch will be done. And remember, if you found this tutorial helpful, please consider giving me a like and subscribe. It would greatly be appreciated. And leave me a comment. I will chit chat with you. And as always, folks, keep stitching.